Right? It's on. You can talk.
And he's a little kid. He's a little kid. Ah, each time I touch something, never works for me. The world is against me.
Sorry. Yeah, they're ready for us now. Sorry. Okay. Here we are on the street with a woman who's going to discuss some person. So what have you got to say about this person?
My
with the
husband is
microphone?
54, but he's acting like a kid, a spoiled brat kid.
And what's the name of your husband?
It's Edward Fitzgerald.
Okay, so there we go. It's Edward Fitzgerald, who apparently is
He's Irish.
not with us at the moment. He's in the Connemara, but... So-
Okay, bye, I have to go now.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
see you
my
at home.
dog Tuko is waiting.
We'll see you. Bring Tuko, yeah? All right. Bye. I'm working. I'm ideas, you know. Ideas, you know. She's right. Did behave like a little kid. Yeah, I guess. And I actually took the battery out and everything instead of just leaving it for a minute. Stupid. Instead of having a little bit of patience. I wouldn't like this Lenny to go wrong though. It's extremely useful for this type of thing. And I really like the fact that it has a kind of a second life now as my special audio device, as well as, of course, the very important function of playing music all day, every day in the Connemara. So yeah. I had two ideas, two more videos. Definitely gonna do these, they're good, even if it's not. See, there are two ideas that have lots of potential to be better. But by that I mean I could think about them for a long time and write some stuff down. But the danger is that I'll get too into the details, less and less spontaneous, and the thing will not be such a success. I don't really mean success. I mean, sometimes it's best to just be spontaneous about the idea you have, let it out, and then move on to the next thing. As long as you kind of get the essence of what you're doing and you have a point. You know, my point is just how, I don't know, how ridiculous some of the unboxing videos are. And yet how popular they are. So first of all, how could I film it? I could use the Sony camera, even though I got no tripod or anything. So I'm gonna have to find a way. Of course, the camera, the little Mobius camera, That would be perfect if it was attached to a hat or something. Or if you had a special tripod that you could get it to point directly downward. Anyway, the idea is what counts. So the idea is that the guy's unboxing, and I want it to be just a funny unboxing. So I can do some mood swings. I can do a slight artistic thing. Digital voice record. Little thing like this. I always find these complicated. I'm mumbling. I'm mumbling. Good job. Mumbling. That's cute. Little statue of a cat. I'll have to tell Flo about that. It's Sunday, the 16th of February 2020. And I'm walking past the little Carrefour Contact. And I'm on the far side of the road. When I'm on this side of the road, my mind always goes to the alcohol days. There's a couple of memories. When you start onto certain memories, I don't know how the mind works, but you reinforce certain memories. So it's not a case of when I'm here, I always think of this. I always think of that time when I came out and I was trying to avoid running into Flo or something who was going to take the car. You know, I think what it is you think of that memory once or twice, and then every other time you reinforce it. And so it becomes a kind of standard bearer for the alcohol. And so when I'm on this side of the road, that's what I think of. I can't remember, I was trying to get away from people or something, trying to speak. I don't know why I wanted to avoid Flo. God knows what the way my mind was working, but now I'm just I'm at the roundabout and I'm looking down the Zone Industrial Street. That's the way I would go. That's the way I would go. In those instances, you know, down that way. And on a day like today, it'd be nice and peaceful. And I'd start knocking back some wine or stuff. And I'd try and change my, try and get to the high country. It's fantastic that there's no appeal in that for me anymore. It's really fantastic that I'm not walking here struggling with the thought of, oh, go back and get some stuff and go. It's really not difficult to play. It's not really a fantastically romantic memory. You know, because my mind, again, because I've probably reinforced this, my mind tends to play the whole scenario as best as it can. And so I don't just imagine the high point, which probably comes just, I don't know, after the Zone Industrial. I used to always stop in a spot there and start knocking back the whiskey. And after that you'd get that rise, that really perceivable jump in the energy or in the state because of the alcohol. But if I follow it through, of course, you know, you would then proceed to get tired. You may or may not pass out. When you get back, no matter what way you'd be, you'd probably end up in an argument. And even if you were on your own, you wouldn't really do anything. You'd end up drinking and drinking and maybe having a couple of moments, but then pretty much you'd be ready to pass out at about 8 o'clock in the evening, mumbling to yourself. There's nothing that great in that whole scenario. I'd much prefer what I'm doing now, which is trying to come up with some ideas for the boxing thing. I can't do the sugar one yet because I really need a boring piece of sugar. I need a boring cube of sugar. But I have wanted to make a little video about my digital voice recorder. So I'm going to do that. I don't know about the unboxing and the mood swings. It's not grabbing me the same as the sugar cube one. Because the thing is, I want to actually do an unboxing video as well. I want to say nice things about that. And I want to show some nice pictures of it. We'll see. Not important. I recorded a Wogan thing yesterday, but the quality is not very good, and to be honest, the songs weren't very good either. And so, although it's an hour of the city growing, I'm not sure I want to use it. It is possible I could reuse that hour-long clip and put something else underneath it. Maybe I could do that. Or not. Every single man in the south of France must have a fucking chainsaw in the garage. You can hardly go out for a walk without hearing a chainsaw somewhere. It's just, folks around here just love cutting down trees or hedges. Not me. Today was a busy day, Sunday. Some Sundays have been very busy. Just the morning we did over 300. It's like over 800 for the weekend. The thought struck me. I don't know how many times I've said that sentence about the Connemara over the last decade. Either when I was writing way back when, or in just about any audio thing, I would give that piece of information. And the good thing about listening to myself afterward to these recordings is, and it's again one of those things that's hard to explain, but I can distance myself a little bit from that person who is doing all this talking. And I can look at that person in a slightly objective way. And it gives me a different insight into myself. For instance, I can't really be clear about this because it's not clear in my own head, but if I find myself going on repeating things or getting animated about a certain subject, then if I re-listen to it a few days later, especially as I'm lying in bed or something, it seems so trivial and the subject matter is so pointless. And you think, funny the things that occupy us. during the day, the things that our mind gets occupied with that are really just unimportant. It's like someone like me, my mind has to be burning something. It has to have some fuel, which is kind of any subject. But it's not quite that. It's a strange kind of slight little bit of distance I can feel when I'm listening to myself. I can go, that's kind of good. That's a waste of thinking, or even in the way I speak. I don't know. It's like actors. I'm going up the hill. Bonjour. I'm going up the hill. I've arrived at the old new house. I got two women coming with two little dogs.
Avec un petit peu d'eau. Bonjour.
Bonjour. What did he have called the word? Energy productions. There were certain things, those two guys, they skimmed the surface of something. They'd say something and it's like, it's like you were given a tiny piece of what would be a very different way of looking at things, but it was never explained in any depth. It was just a teasing kind of sentence. The energy productions. And people do talk and get all energized, even talking about the most mundane stuff. Like there's something else going on. An increase in adrenaline. An increase in the sense of you are somebody, and an increase in power. Even if you're just talking to someone and you're both agreeing about the same things. It's a strange phenomenon. So I've got these little things that I look ahead to. Oh boy. Like two dogs going at it. Two small dogs having a right ding-dong. Yeah, things to keep me going in the evening. So I'm thinking about the Terry Wogan and the Wake Up to Wogan show with some SimCity. But to be honest, I feel that's starting to wane, dissipate. I don't see myself doing lots and lots more of these. my Woganville city is growing up, and you know, I got over 1,000 people, 100,000 people, and everything ends up kind of just trying to be a tourist place. I always seem to end up doing the same thing, but I don't know if I will continue that. Or I may just stick one of these audio files onto one of them, let rip. I couldn't do that actually. I don't think I'd want to do that. It's all about finding something to get into. A passion. The good thing is there's so many things that I could get into. I mean, I've got a couple of PlayStation 4 games that I could go back to. I've got a couple of like that unboxing video. You know, these things, depending on what you want to do, they can take quite a bit of time. Just to pass the evening. Oh, fucking hell. I love passing this kid playing with football in his garden. There's something so me in that. I know what he's doing, you know. He looks like a guy just running around aimlessly with the ball in his garden, but I'm pretty sure in his own mind there's a match going on. And the ball has been passed around, and he's one of the players. It's exactly the thing I used to do at the same age. I would imagine, and I don't know if this is the case, but it may be a rare sight these days to see a young boy like that playing in his front garden with a football. I think a lot of kids nowadays, they do all that online, you know, PlayStation football. They can do all their pretending, staring at a screen. In my day, you did a lot of that outdoors. Indoors, you probably had to have a little bit more imagination. You weren't able to play Ghost Recon. That was one nicey fucking kid. A little kid on a bike. Good for her. Yeah, I remember playing in 7 Springfield Drive in that big garden. With the football. would have looked like I was aimlessly kicking a ball around, but I wasn't. Like playing tennis again tomorrow. Oh, Eddie, he practices a lot. Wasn't practicing anything, I was playing competitions. That's such a long time ago. And yet I heard somebody saying this before. As you get older, the older memories start to come more clearer. You know? It's like you go through a spell in your 20s, 30s, 40s even, where you never think about those things, or they seem a long way away. Then you get to your 50s and you start thinking about them again, and they seem like yesterday. Don't know why that is. Maybe with me as well, it's the stopping the alcohol. It allows me to access some of those memories more clearer, because the real difference is that it's not just a snapshot or some abstract image of you playing tennis. I can see the wall, I can see the garden, I can see the trees, I can almost smell the trees, and I can see the garage door. And these things are pretty clear. I can see the front garden, the blue kind of drain pipe, the newish kind of windows up at the center of the gable of the house. And more than that, you get a sense of the atmosphere of the time, clothes I was wearing, and the way I felt. And that's such a big thing. If you can remember the way you felt, if you can remember even a piece of what was on your mind at the time, that just triggers so much. It brings all kinds of things into view. When I was playing tennis there in the 80s, in the early to mid 80s, there was the beginnings of all those attraction to the various girls. Claire Kennedy and Martina Summers, and Dorothy Byrne was majority art. But I was becoming more aware of my own image. I wanted to be attractive to people. Was I very bored during some of those days? What did I do when I finished playing the tennis? I'd like to go back to the late 70s, to the point which, really the beginning. 12, 13 years old. And it's perfectly fine. You can still have a crush on a girl, but it's not a sexual thing, it's something else. And what would I have done after playing tennis? I had to use my imagination a lot. And of course, this is something that I haven't remembered for a while. But all the way up, especially when you get to the secondary school, there was always the burden in the background of studying and exams and homework. That was always there. I remember at one point thinking, God, it'd be great when we finish school that we don't have homework, don't have exams. There was a great sense of, can you imagine just going out and enjoying yourself, or going on a holiday, or being on a Christmas holiday and not having to worry about this constant pressure of exams in the background. It seemed like all the time. I didn't even see it. A cat just ran across the... I didn't even see her. I think she's playing with me, actually. She's playing hide go seek. Yeah. There was that romantic notion. Imagine if you could go back and be in that situation with the same mind that you have now and the same experiences that you have now. Could you have really changed the trajectory of your life? That's the one thing about going back to being 12 again. I can't imagine how lonely and depressed I'd be, because of Flo. I mean, I know that she was alive somewhere, and knowing her story and everything, I know she was quite happy somewhere in Maraval. It's another. I guess if you were writing a book or doing a movie, this would be a very interesting puzzle to kind of to dwell on. You know, how would you get back to see her? You know that she was gonna, let's say her path wasn't going to change, but maybe you wouldn't know that for sure, and so you'd think, if her path did deviate in any way, well, oh, you could still get to meet her, couldn't you? What would you do? Spend a holiday in Yare. Get lost and come knocking at Maraval door with all the dogs barking at you. If her path ran normal, let's say, and she ends up in White Style Road in the late 90s, you could, of course, simply imagine how loud that's going to be picked up. Someone could be riding one of those fucking bikes 10 miles away and you'd hear it screeching in your ear. Anyway, so I'd go back to White Style Road. Let's say I could go to Ealing for a holiday, because if I went back with all the knowledge I have now, and I'm just got to get to the one thing I feel would be definitely changed would be that Ireland would seem very small compared to my whole growing up thing, because the experience of traveling, the bit of traveling I've done, the driving over here I've done, the crash course in looking at maps and directions and trains and things, if all that were to stay with me, even as this 12-year-old, I would certainly be able to travel to London when I get to 18. My God, 18. When I get to 18, it's going to be 1984. Fuck. It's like you didn't meet Flo till you were nearly 40. So what would you do in all the intervening years? Would you try and... God, these would be... If that actually happened, these would be great things to try and work out. I could almost find myself wishing that if we can all make up our own next life adventure, if that's the higher power thing that's up to us, and you ask for that, then it'll happen. God, I'd almost like to do that. I'd almost like to, if I could have the knowledge that, you passed away in your other life. Remember, you died. This is what you wanted, and this is what happened. Almost like a wonderful Star Trek episode. And so you came back and you're 12 and here you are. But you've got everything from the previous time. Now you're doing it again. What would you do with your father, though? Well, maybe he'd be back as well and his timeline would be changed. But if everybody came back, it gets too confusing, doesn't it? I wouldn't like to watch my father dying again. We'd be back in the past. I know that he's complaining of this pain in his ear and everything, and there's a certain neglect because they don't have the technology. That'd be awful. My mother and that'd be difficult. Would John have to get attacked again? I myself could change things because I sure as hell wouldn't be drinking anymore. I wouldn't feel the need for it. If I had the same mentality as I have now, with just a young body, I could go out with the guys. I could go to discos and things. Looking at all these young girls, I think I'd be fine. I wouldn't need to be drunk. And I wouldn't drink. It gets too complicated when you have to think about other people. You know? In order to keep it enjoyable, I'd have to just concentrate on my story and try and forget about everybody else. That sounds terrible, but this scenario and this kind of daydream, it doesn't work if you're back there and it's 1978 or 79 and your dad's in good health, but you know what lies ahead. But maybe knowing what it was and I could get the help, and it would be easier the second time round, I don't know. But let's just get back to me. Let's say it was different. just your family was different. And everything else was the same. How about that? You could have one wish. You could just have your family, but, you know. Of course, that would change everything as well if your dad lived and your mum's. I mean, how would that change things? If that was the case, you might find your mum still living in Springfield right now. Which would be good. Let's say your dad lived. That's the thing you can change. He doesn't get sick at all. He doesn't get cancer, he doesn't get sick, and besides that, he was like an ox, so let's say he didn't. That would actually change so many things for the better. There would have been a father figure there all the time for John getting older. There would have been a more strong foundation in the house. God knows my mother needed my dad as well. There would have been no pet power. Because my mother would have hopefully fallen. There would have been more and more in love as time went by. Hopefully. We wouldn't have sold the house. Dad would still be keeping the garden in more or less the same way. And I'd have that to go back to all this time. Now for me, well, I'd be thinking, what am I going to do? And I'd be thinking, I don't really want to go and live in London, fuck that. You know, it was kind of okay, but what was the point of it all? And so I'd see guys going over and stuff, and maybe I'd get enough money together, and maybe with everybody in that house, maybe I'd go over for a couple of weeks, but that'd be... Who's that? Who's that dog? Who's that doggy? Hello, Tuco. Hello, Tuco. Hey, little fella. That it? Is that it? Finished?
Just start the walk. Just poop.
Oh, did he? Good boy.
It's very macho, yeah. I think you're gonna walk in the other direction, Natko. Time flies.
Yeah.
You're already here. You can get up. You need my hand now.
No, I was deep in thought. I was gone. My.
Viens, Natko. On repart dans l'autre sens.
Coucou.
On repart dans l'autre sens. Ouais.
My daydream of being reincarnated back into myself as a 12-year-old, with all the knowledge I have now, you know, exactly the same as now. And so I'm playing tennis against the wall, and it's 1978, and I'm thinking, how do I go about meeting Flo? It's a great scenario because it just opens up all these things to think about.
Flo is always there.
Yeah, can you imagine? Because I'd be thinking, well, she's okay, she's having a good time.
8 years old, yeah, I was in the south of France already.
I'd know where you were, I'd be there, and I've got all this knowledge, and I can change things, you know, so I probably wouldn't, if I went, I wouldn't go to London, but I was thinking, well, what would you do? You could, obviously, you'd be able to travel a bit better now than you would originally, you know, because you have this experience with you.
You can speak a bit of French as
I
well.
can speak a bit of French, I remember all that stuff, so I could always take, when I get to 18, I could always take a holiday to Yare, although that would be way back. I don't know if the things going, this before Ryanair, I don't even know if you'd get to Yare.
No, you didn't have Ryanair at the time.
Ferry,
But
you
yeah,
have to
we
take
had
ferry
the,
maybe.
no, we had the
whatever.
airport in Yare. There is no ferry going to Ireland to Yare.
No, I mean a ferry to England and Le Havre,
And
whatever.
then the train and yeah. No, plane. Paris, yeah.
So, all right, but because I was thinking, oh, you could wait and you could meet Flo and she gets the White Style Road, but I was thinking, well, that's so, you know, when I'm thinking about you in 1979 and that
Yeah,
that
but-
happens in 1990 something, it was like, fuck, that's
Yeah.
years and years
Yeah,
away.
no, but don't you think
Interesting.
we're supposed to meet at that moment, precise in London, in Ealing, that if you were coming to see me in 79, 80, maybe it was not the right time. You know, there is
Yeah,
right
to
time,
go.
right time. Tuco, viens là.
You see, yeah, I don't want to get into all there's so many. I mean, the question
Equations,
is,
so many equations.
yes, maybe your line would change. Stop.
Tuco, stop.
To go.
Voilà.
Maybe you change your line. Maybe you wouldn't go to White Style Road, you know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. What would I have to do?
Yeah.
I get into it's like a thought experiment, but it's kind of interesting. And then you go, wow, what about your dad? Would you really want to watch all that again? So I decided, no, I'd have a wish so that wouldn't happen. I allowed myself that for the scenario.
Really?
So he lives on, and my mother stays with him, and so we all stay in the
Tuco,
Springfield Drive
stop.
house.
You don't like the way her life has turned for your mum?
Oh no, I'd rather it was
With your
different.
dad?
Yeah,
Really? You don't think she would have
I never liked Pat Power, and I think my mum would have been happier
with your dad?
with my dad.
But
Yeah.
he'll be very old now, no? She'll be taking care
Yeah,
of him, no?
yeah, and maybe
Because she's been traveling a lot. If your dad was there, she may
she would have maybe gained more independence or something in the meantime. But she never did remarry or anything, so you
Yeah,
know,
no.
I don't think
because
she would have
it's
missed
not,
much.
It's not part of her Irish culture and generations. But she may have not traveled like she did and did all the things she did, you know?
I want to get my camera, yeah,
Ah, so you're coming back?
and then I'll go out.
Okay. Tuco, viens là. We're going for the walk after, huh? Come back after.
We go for the walk after.
Stay there. Stay there. Stop. Et alors, ici, viens
Put
là.
your nerves on edge,
Là.
wouldn't you?
Viens ici.
You have to be so careful you don't say the wrong
Yeah,
thing.
I don't take it for granted, you know. I know he's quite obedient, but I don't
He is,
take
but
it
he's
for
like he's
granted.
waiting for the there.
Funny, behind no Lure Mountain, the other one on the left, the cloud going up and down like that. You see it? Like a fire thing.
Oh yeah.
Stop!
No.
I don't know if it's rain or snow coming down on that spot.
Could be.
Stop!
See, he's not paying attention.
No, but he's, pay attention to the sound of the voice. Huh? You pay attention to the sound of the voice. Oui, mon papa, stop! Allez! Wow, that's funny.
He was kind of gone just before he said "allez."
Yeah, no. But because he can sense, I think. As well, you know. So I'll give you that because on my way back, I don't do garage today, but I'm just going to do a second coat of wax and latex. That's it. Both dogs have been barking, I don't know why.
Who's that?
Morgana,
Did she bark like that? I didn't hear her
Yeah.
barking like that.
using a voice now. It's always like that, you know. Well, the pigeon is before.
Yeah, I'll just have to get that. Hello, Rita. What's wrong, Rita? What's wrong? Is it a cat? Oh, is there someone hiding in the bushes? What is it? What is it, Skippy? Hello, Tuco. Allez. What's this? What's this ball here? What's this ball, huh? Let's get the camera. Tuco, come here and stop listening to all the noise. That's fucking depressing. I mean, the dog's tied up. Right. I'm gonna turn off now. I'm gonna switch off the device here. We had a pretty good chat. didn't we? We had a pretty good chat. 55 minutes. 55 minutes, yes. Over and out then. Thank you very much. Thank you.